Welcome to the Hookup on Music with your host, Tony Bird.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special Hookup on Music because today is Memorial Day, and we are here to honor all of our heroes out there. Thank you so much for everything that you have provided. We really, really appreciate it. We took a week off last week, try to recharge our batteries before this amazing long run we're about to start, in which we deliver some awesome music. Awesome music news, concerts, a whole bunch of different stuff. But why wait? Let's dig right into it and let's talk about some news that just crossed the desk here right before we got started. And it is that Queen's Freddie Mercury had a secret daughter. His new biography claims that he had a secret daughter he welcomed with the wife of a friend in '76. Very interesting. In the book, Love Freddie, Freddie's Secret Life and Love, is based on Largie's secret diaries, which he reportedly gifted to his daughter prior to his death in 1991. So Freddie was familiar with this daughter, it sounds like. Freddie Mercury was and is my father. We had a very close and loving relationship from the moment I was born and throughout the final 15 years of his life. His daughter, now 28, reportedly writes in the biography. Very, 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 very interesting. Curious to hear a little bit more about this. But Mercury being a father, this is new. And it is definitely something that but it was decided between the three adults and that the child would live with her mother and her husband, the child's stepfather, Jones writes in the book. So can't wait to dig in a little bit deeper on this. I mean, I think some people are going to be shocked to hear that in all its regard, because it's like, is that something that anybody really has on their radar sometimes, is a new child, especially Freddie Mercury. But also recently, as Bob Dylan was joined on stage with Billy Strings for a pretty good cover of All on the Watchtower. If you are able to get a hold of that and listen to that, that's a very, very, very interesting listen. Always cool when people get together and especially from two awesome time periods and come together and jam out. But, we're going to see if maybe more will come of that. Bob Dylan doesn't invite too many people on stage. So to, be able to hear that collaboration, you can imagine that is something that is special, and it is like almost like a one of a kind type of experience there. If you are a fan of Bob Dylan, which we do love some Bob Dylan. We have been playing Hurricane quite a lot, which is a great track. But you may say, what else is going on? Sadly, Billy Joel has had to cancel some dates because of a brain disorder. But don't worry, his daughter says he's going to get back to it. Neil Young performed a deep cut, a 1983 deep cut, My Boy, for the very first time in 42 years. Always cool when you dig deep into your catalog and bust out tracks. I could see by looking at the dates and the tickets available, especially here in the Chicagoland area, and the Neil Young show is selling really, really good, which is not something that a lot of people I think have on their bingo card, is selling as quickly, because today sometimes older artists have trouble selling up, but not Neil Young. He is not, because even Bob Dylan, last time he was here last summer, those tickets did not sell 100% like out, but it's awesome that Neil can and still produces high quality live shows for people to see and to hear. So just a little bit of news that we decided that we were going to share with you. But speaking of, we also like to do a little bit of imagining and daydreaming here at the Hookup on Music. And you may say, what has crossed your mind recently? And it's old concerts, which we're going to do every now and then, and imagine what these were like when they happened. Okay, the first concert here, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see the tour poster. If you're listening live, it is a dual concert with Silverchair and Everclear. Two artists, though, I think in the 90s put out some pretty solid albums, Everclear with Sparkle and Fade, of course, Silverchair with Frog Stomp. I am a big fan of their second album, Freak Show, even Neon Ballroom, Everclear, so much for the Afterglow. But seeing them both on the same stage, two different styles of music too, not really what you would think, bands that, are in the same genre, but I guess in the pigeonhole of alternative, which was the '90s, they coulda worked pretty well together, and I imagine as so that they did. But to imagine, what, are they playing? You could imagine that they were playing, a lot of good stuff. I mean, Silverchair, if you were got a chance to see those guys live, I would've, taken it because they don't do too much, touring anymore. So to have been able to, catch those guys live, would have been something that you can say memorably, uh, doesn't happen too much, which is and then you could have came on the show here and shared some good stories. Last, date they played was in 2010. So if you say, "How long ago was that?" That was 15 years ago. And on this, they played, only 1 from Frog Stomp, 2 from Neon Ballroom, and 2 from Freak Show. So again, wasn't digging deeper into the classics where when they did this show, they were probably playing a little bit more of everything along with Everclear. But you're saying like, okay, Everclear, they still tour. They're actually touring right now, to celebrate the Sparkle and Fade release, which is just a great album. But going back to their May 17th day, 4 from Sparkle and Fade, 7 from So Much for the Afterglow. So those guys are still touring and they are still digging into these albums that are great and made them, known throughout the musical universe. Also, I like to think about some of these tour posters is the coolness in which of the artwork happens to appear. In this one, it looks like a cool bird or a duck or something is surfing with his middle finger up, which just sounds like it's awesome. A bird surfing, middle finger up. What is even, I don't know. I'm just kidding. But also here, next up is Loop Fest. You may be saying to yourself, the Loop? Never heard of it. A radio station that was amazing, 97.9 in the Chicagoland area. They used to have something called the Loop Fest. And the Loop Fest had some artists here. If you look at Saturday, February 2nd, ending this was Off-Broadway Survivor Europe, okay? And then Steve Dahl, who was the gentleman who burned the records at the Disco Demolition, he has his own radio station. Looks like he came out and jammed, but some other artists here that we're curious about because we have not heard a lot of them, but we have, if you look on day 2, M&R Rush, we have seen those guys live. Steve Dahl played the second day, but Pinups and Olis Royce and Pearl Hardle Band, we're gonna have to do a little bit more digging into that. This was the Chicago rock event, it says. 24 hours of concerts from some of so pretty much what they're saying is that even though there was a limit, that it was just pretty much 2 days of full-on rock. At the International Amphitheater, which would have been really cool to go to, noon till midnight, you could imagine that everybody was just turned up, as the children say these days, at this show. But Loop Fest 1980, very interesting, to have been, anyone who have been a part of that, if you just happen to listen to this. But you're saying, there aren't a lot of set lists available for what was played on that day. But also, though, is just the by looking at the set list and stuff, just how fun it would have been to be able to go to a concerts from noon till midnight. I went to Ozfest '97, and that started like right around 12:31, and that went to like 10:30. And man, we miss these concerts. We need to bring some of these concerts back. But what you're seeing on the screen used to be even like in newspapers. You get to see some of these advertisements, which were cool. I thought this was cool too. Stevie Ray Vaughan and Double Trouble. Lawn seats, $19.50. Sign me up for this show. I would have put a 1 in front of that after you find out that you're not going to see him anymore. from the 92, 93. You're never see him again evermore after that. 91, you're not gonna see him anymore. And it's going to be sad. So if you get an opportunity back then to see Stevie Ray Vaughan, I mean, Stevie Ray Vaughan even came to places like Ball State, where I went to college. Also, Bob Dylan came to Ball State. A lot of cool artists stopped through Ball State, which is cool, to be able to check out artists like on smaller college campuses. But to be able to see Stevie Ray Vaughan in Double Trouble, yeah, that don't happen too often. You don't get to see those type of things, and you don't get to experience that kind of experiencement of just greatness. But the thing you do get to experience it is here. We get to share it with you and get to talk about it. Talk about Iron Maiden, Anthrax. I see Iron Maiden, Anthrax now, but this is Iron Maiden and Anthrax. Back then, you just really are going to say to yourself, what was that vibe like? No Prayer on the Road tour. What is this? What is this being in the crowd like? Because some of these shows now, especially if you get to watch them on the live stream, you might miss some of that mystique of the old days, of that old classic Iron Maiden, who are still touring, who are going to be also coming through a lot of different towns, not anywhere near Chicagoland yet. But I do feel like that is going to be something that is going to be not too far off. But keep your eye out, keep your eye out for that. What I wanted to say is a lot of just stuff is coming, and we got to be ready, including new music. Stereo Lab dropped this week, Instant Holograms on Metal Film. Very interesting album title. Bruce Springsteen dropped The Land of Hope and Dreams. Really kind of interesting 4 songs live. I was think it was going to be a little bit more than just 4 tracks, but very still interesting to dig into. But what have you been really listening to? Has it been that new Sleep Token, even in Arcadia? This Sleep Token is blowing up in so many different ways. But you say what is coming up, and that's why we got a lot of different stuff to share here with you, including what is maybe some things that you're looking forward to. So back to the 23rd here, Lou Tides came out with Autostatic. Sam Feldt came out with Time After Time. Talked about Stereo Lab already. What is coming up this week on the 30th of this month? We've got Leon Thomas. We got Matt Berringer coming out with Get Sunk. Matt Berringer is really, really good. So check that out. National fame, good stuff. If you are a fan of them, Swans is coming out with Birthing. What was I shared with this week from my main man, Andrew? He shared with me a really, really, really good album that I dug into. Witchcraft was the name of these guys. Check it out. IDAG is a really, really, really good good indication of what you're getting into, and their album is good, and the name of the band is just cool and loaded with riffs. So as always, we're going to be sharing with you new music. Got some plans coming up down the hatch with some really awesome fans and of the show, and also just people who love music to come on and talk about it. So I hope you enjoyed some of that new music that we shared tonight. But earlier we mentioned Anthrax, and it would do us a little good to talk a little bit more about them because, well, they're awesome. Let's start there. Anthrax is a very awesome band, and they're a very influential band to myself. Very influential to what we're doing here at the show. But even more importantly, they put out some really, really good music, which we're gonna dig into here a little bit. They were formed in New York City in 1981 with rhythm guitar Scott Ian and bassist Dan Lickler, um, which is cool because they are always considered part of the big four with Metallica, Megadeth, and Slayer. I have gone through strict periods of my life of really loving Anthrax as one of my favorite bands of all time and putting them ahead of some of those other three that we mentioned. Now I really don't try to put anyone ahead of anyone, and I just try to honor and respect all artists for their magic, really. Um, but they have been around for some while, and they have had some albums. Their debut album, Fistful of Metal, came out in 1984. Okay. Who is on this album along with the ones that we mentioned? Charlie Benante on drums, Dan Spitz on lead guitar, and Neil Turbin on vocals joins Scott and Danny on this album. Album cover is definitely there for you to remember forever, considering it's, well, really cool of a guy getting hit really hard by metal, because that's what it is metal. There's also a cover of I'm 18 by Alice Cooper on here. Starts with the leadoff track, Death Rider. Um, Kerrang called it a great debut, going at 100 miles per hour, which Anthrax definitely has no problem with going 100 miles per hour. They always are bringing it in just so many different fronts. And honestly, once I start going on this album, it was kind of hard to slow Anthrax down going forward. Spraying the Disease comes next. This was released in 1985, one day before Halloween, October 30th. Another amazing album cover. Looks like a man who is being like extracted of something that is literally attacking him. Also, the first album to feature well, he's returned. We're gonna get to that in a second. But original vocalist Joey Belladonna and bassist Frank Bello, who are just awesome additions to the band. Um, Sadly, Neil Turbin was expelled from the band after Fistful of Metal, and Matt Fallon replaced him. But producers suggested Carl Kennedy, Joey Belladonna, who was not familiar with thrash metal, which is very interesting. They brought in somebody who kind of like David Lee Roth, wasn't a big heavy metal guy, but he really brought it in Van Halen. Joey Belladonna brought his musical prowess to this. And Spreading the Diseases was recorded at the Pyramid Sound Studios in Ithaca, New York. Very interesting with great tracks on it. But Madhouse was made for MTV, but did not receive a whole lot of play because there was some content in it that people disagreed with. But again, the cover was made by Pete Kurstin, which had a man, like I said, being attacked um, of extracted of radiation levels. But Kurstin worked on physical graffiti. Very, very awesome. Um, Also, kind of, Kerrang is back at saying that this is an excellent example of just a band playing to a lot of its greatness into what it does. And what other tracks are awesome on Spreading the Disease? AIR, Lone Justice, The Enemy, Gung Ho, Medusa, Armed and Dangerous is really, really awesome. Only clocking in 43 and 40 seconds, but really cool. Going from there is Among the Living. This band has always really put out great album covers. Album would not be non-said if it wasn't that Cliff Burton dedicated um Anthrax dedicated this album to Cliff Burton, who had passed away 6 months earlier because the album was released March 16th, 1987. Released a couple of my favorite tracks, I Am the Law and Indians, along with just some other really, really good stuff that had propelled the band to a different front. One World, Caught in a Mosh, Among the Living, title track 516. clocks in at. Good stuff. But really, the band is just going and getting bigger on things like the Monster of Rock. Um, they played to an audience of 80,000 people that day. 80,000. That's huge. And Anthrax is just honestly a band of greatness. The album Among the Living was produced by Anthrax itself and Eddie Kramer, released on the Mega Force/Island album. Island always had really cool, if you looked at the CDs sideways, really cool logo for them. Just really cool, smooth produced. Okay, really described by the band as their breakthrough, which is a cool thing to state. State of Euphoria was their next album. So now we're on their fourth studio album. This is kind of where I was like in fifth grade. I'm getting introduced to this. Actually, first album that I ever heard cuss words on. Now It's Dark is the tracks lead off of side two. What else was on this album? Antisocial, Making Me Laugh. Misery Loves Company is based on Stephen King's Misery, and Now It's Dark that I just mentioned is based on Blue Velvet, which is another great movie that we have talked about on At the Show. If you have not listened to At the Show, go back and check all of those out. But again, bring in some cool producers: Mark Dodson, Alex Perillas, John Zazula, Marcia Zazula. But just good stuff all around. Really, really good stuff. A cool album cover. Again, that yellow pops for this. There is definitely a state of euphoria on this album. Deeper tracks, because this album honestly is the one that kind of slows a little bit under. Track Misery Schism. Not the Tool Schism, their Schism. Finale at the 547, but we're still rolling with the same five: Benante, Bello, Ian, Spitz, Belladonna. But they are about to pick it up a little bit with Persistence of Time, a little bit more serious. Also nominated for a Grammy is their fifth studio album. Again, Persistence of Time. Mark Dodson, John Zazula, Anthrax, Marcia Zazula, all involved in producing. Released August 21st, 1990. We are now into the 90s. But the recording of the album was difficult. There was a fire which cost $100,000 worth of gear in their rehearsal studio to burn. The album's tone is decidedly more contemplative and mature than the bulk of their other work, abandoning their humor, which was on other tracks before this. But after this album, because I would be injured to Deuce, the Belly of the Beast, and Got the Time are just awesome. Persistence of Time. But also right after this is the EP Attack of the Killer Bees, which still had Joey Belladonna part of the band. The album was also nominated for a Grammy Award for Best Metal Performance in 92. But the track with Public Enemy, because they did some great work with them, I Am the Man, definitely worth checking out. So please. And some great covers of Parasite, Kiss, Trust Doing Sex, SECTS, not the SEX, and Pipeline by the Shantays, all worth your time. Chromatic Death is a cool SOD cover, Protest and Survive, also very awesome. Worth it, though. Really, really worth it. Because by the time we get to their sixth studio album, the band is deciding that they're going to work with a new singer. John Bush is going to join the band. And honestly, Sound of White Noise, released in, folks, this is a little bit crazy to talk about, but we are celebrating its 32nd anniversary today. Is Sound of White Noise. Just a great album that we've talked about a lot on the show. Only, Room for One More, Black Lodge, High Pro Glow, all great music videos. Joey Belladonna unfortunately leaves, and they bring in John Bush. They also produced the album with Dave Jordan. Just a really, really, really great album. Some really awesome album cuts are on this one. So definitely we're going to set out our album cuts for the Sound of White Noise album. So check out some of the album cuts off of this one, because going deeper, Potter's Field is great. Had some really cool bonus tracks for this album too. Cowboy Song by Thin Lizzy, London, The Smiths, Off Widershin by Cheap Trick. just really doing some good stuff here is Anthrax at this point. And then from here, they get involved with Stomp 442, the seventh studio album, with Fueled and Nothing. Also is Anthrax's last album to feature without Dan Spitz on lead guitar, bringing in Paul Crook on lead vocals. It's a Savage album. This one is Savage, Savage, Savage. But really, really awesome. Butcher Brothers were in the studio with Anthrax on that one. The Thread is Real is their eighth studio album. Great little album. Crush is just awesome. Okay. Crush is great. Some really, really good stuff on this one, Inside Out. Always really impressed that they were able to bring in Dimebag Darrell on some tracks on both this and Stomp 442. Even Phil Anselmo from Pantera sang background vocals on Killing Box. Really cool stuff. Really, really good band all around. I think it's again one of my personal favorites. John Bush is always awesome. We've Come for Your All is their ninth studio album. Remember buying this one on CD. Dimebag Darrell is back again, and so is The Who's Roger Daltrey, which is very interesting. Produced on this one by Scrap 60 with Anthrax, but good stuff on here. Contact, What Doesn't Die leads it off. Superhero, Safe Home, really good lyrics. Taking the Music Back is the Roger Daltrey track. Cadillac Rock Box is a very interesting, what's the word I'm looking for? Song that is definitely a part of which is What Doesn't Die. Leonard Skinner, Black Sabbath, A Mighty Album by a Still Mighty Band is pretty much Bansel summed this up, who was a music producer for Music OMH. Very interesting stuff. But just always as interesting as Anthrax, doing good work on this album. And then guess what ends up happening? The Greater Two Evils comes up. And then Worship Music is out, and Joey Belladonna's back. And it's also their final album because he joined the album before is Rob Cicciano. So they're back with him. And then after this, For All Kings, the last two with Joey Belladonna. Great studio albums, back to that original sound. John Bush had a different sound. But Anthrax, check out their stuff. I mean, I kind of went through their albums here a little bit, kind of gave you some of their highlights. I mean, For All Kings, their last album, good stuff. Evil Twin, Blood Eagle Wings, Defend Avenge, All of Them Thieves, This Battle Chose Us, Zero Tolerance, 59 minutes of pure metal. That's what ends the album. Great when it's starting out with Impaled into You Gotta Believe, and the album before this, Worship Music, was even better than that album. And you might be saying, what's on this one? Earth on Hell is great. Crawl, the track, Judas Priest. Can't get any better than that. Just like Godsmack's Awake. When's the last time you played this one really loud? Don't talk too much about Godsmack here on the show. But what's really cool is that it's still not a bad song. Released June 20th, coming up here on its 25th anniversary. It's about getting some closure in a past relationship. But the song was appeared on different things like Nash Bridges, which I thought was awesome. Also, really kind of cool, it's in the one with Jet Li. So awesome. If it's been a while since you've checked into Godsmack's Awake, that is going to be our song of the week. ACDC just got done playing Soldier Field. Really good stuff there. Started out with If You Want Blood. The people really enjoyed it, and also enjoying it was the Pretty Reckless. They did a really good job opening up the show. But AC/DC, bringing out the big bell for Hell's Bells. They did play Shot Down in Flames, which was awesome. If You Want Blood, You Got It. But starting off is cool, but ending with For Those About to Rock, We Salute You. I mean, come on now. That's just a great, great thing and makes it the concert of the week. Need a movie to watch before we get out of here? We got one for you this week. Control. All about some really good stuff and some stuff we've talked a lot about, which is really about a 2015 film. Let's start with there. I think I got the year wrong there here, real quick here. My notes are deceiving me. But again, what is this movie about? This movie is about it's about the lead singer of Joy Division. And the lead singer of Joy Division was awesome in so many different ways, in so many different things. And to be fair, really 2007 was the year. I had to get that right before going into it. But about Ian Curtis, Joy Division, lead singer. But really digs a little bit deeper. Anton Corbijn, who you may be known, directed some really amazing music videos. Like U2's One to Nirvana's Heart-Shaped Box, all the way to Bryan Adams' Do I Have to Say the Words? Just so many different things. But when he stepped behind the camera for this movie, it gave a really good insight into the life of Ian Curtis, shot in black and white. Really cool. And also just really, really eye-opening in what he was able to bring to the forefront. Roger Ebert gave the film 3.5 stars. Extraordinary achievement, Control is, as far as musical biopics and the story of a life. Good reviews. Check it out. Let me know what you think. Would definitely appreciate that in so many different regards, because we're always here to share really, 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 really good stuff with you. And we always thank you for being here, and also thank you for always tuning in. And at the bottom, as you saw there, if you can please hit the like and subscribe button, really would appreciate that on episode 117. I was so much into this episode, I forgot to change the clicker to 117. But look out for a special message next week, because those are going to start to switch up. We got a lot of good stuff coming out. I want you to enjoy your rest of your Memorial Day. I hope you're grilling out, listen to some really cool tunes. Always appreciate the support. I'm glad to be here today. And look out for At the Show this upcoming week, because I got a great soundtrack. We're going to be talking about some Mission Impossible, good music there with my main man, Yumper. So check that out. Also check out It's Getting Drafty. That should be coming back soon. And start checking out some of these articles that I've been promising for a long time that will be dropping on the SadisticPenguinStudios.com. So everyone out there, thank you so much for listening, and we will see you again soon. But until that next time, enjoy the rest of your day. And I am Tony, and this is the Hookup on Music signing off on episode 117.
Thank you for listening. Please look out for the audio version wherever you jam.